Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to start a weekend reading vlog. So I have been collecting little clips of fall activities, and I thought it would be fun to make a vlog this weekend and use those little clips. And so here we are. So it's a long weekend for me, which is fabulous. I'm very excited about that. So it's Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. So Monday I have a day off from work, and today is Saturday. It's Saturday morning. I'm going to be making some applesauce from apples that I picked from the trees in my backyard, and maybe doing some other apple related activities, getting things squared away for the winter season, because fall has definitely arrived here in Maine. And I have other things that are happening this weekend that I will hopefully be able to remember to take clips of and share with you. But what am I reading this weekend? I have a variety of books on the go. I have 4 books here that are the focus of my intentions this weekend. The first is a romance. This is Remember Me, which is book 2 in the Ravenswood series by Mary Balogh. And I am buddy reading this with Doris and Katie. Like I said, this is book 2, and this one follows the sister Pippa from the first book, and a new character that we had not seen before. So get some of the old characters from the last book, which was the first in the series, and some new characters, and it's it's historical romance, and so very much fun. So I'm working on that. I am also working on Dawn by Octavia E. Butler. This is book 1 in the Lilith Brood novels. This is science fiction about a woman who has been captured, I guess you would say, by an alien race. Earth has been, there's been some kind of war, probably nuclear, has destroyed Earth. It hasn't destroyed the physical planet, but it has destroyed life on Earth. And this alien group has captured some humans, and we follow Lilith, who is brought to awareness of this particular alien group and her efforts to understand what they're all about. And so this is a book about you can see I'm almost done. I'm expecting to finish this one today. And this is a book that's at first it's kind of hard to understand where the book is going, but I think it's a book about human nature and how we as a species interact with each other, and what we do when we're confronted with alien things, and how we respond to that. And there's a lot in here about sort of interactions between the sexes, male and female, and what is sort of innate in our nature and what isn't. And then ethical considerations of reproduction and things like that. So typical themes that Octavia Butler explores in her books. So I'm very much enjoying that. And then another buddy read, this time nonfiction, is Necessary Trouble, Growing Up at Mid-Century by Gilpin Faust. That's her on the cover as a teenager. And this is a buddy read with my friend Rachel. I'm loving this one. I am probably halfway through this. You can see I'm tabbing it up. I just got the physical copy in the mail yesterday. I've been listening to this on audiobook, and I would 100% recommend the audiobook. But what this is about is the author's life, basically. It's a coming of age story, but it's also about what life was like in mid-century America for young women, particularly young white women, because the author is herself white. She grows up, she's born into a privileged white family in the South, in Virginia, and her awakening as to the social issues in our culture. And so it's all about history. It's about life in America in this time period, and about one young white woman's awakening to her life of privilege and what other people are facing in their lives. And it's really, really excellently done. Like I said, the audiobook is really well done. The author reads it herself, and you can hear the emotion in her voice in certain aspects. Another thing that I would really highly recommend this for is what it was like to be a young woman who wanted more out of her life than simply to be a mother and a caretaker of the home. and how that sort of flew in the face of everything she was raised to believe women were supposed to want in their lives. Because she was growing up during the 50s and early 60s, when this was the time period when the whole idea of like traditional family structure and motherhood and wives remaining at home and all that sort of thing was like at its peak. So really, really great. Really enjoying that one. And then I am buddy reading Ben Franklin by Walter Isaacson. This is a biography of Benjamin Franklin, and I'm buddy reading this one with Doris. And yeah, it's really good so far. Walter Isaacson is excellent biographer. He really does a great job writing biography, and this one's no exception. And Ben Franklin is a very interesting character. His whole sort of homespun, down-to-earth persona is not just a persona. It is like how he sort of lived his life. He was a very practical person, and I'm really enjoying. He was like the original checklist kind of person. Like he was a habit tracker, and he literally had a written habit tracker that he used. So I feel very connected to Ben Franklin. If you're a person that likes journaling and checklists and that sort of thing, like I think you'll find a lot to respond to in Ben Franklin's life. But that's just like one tiny aspect of this, obviously. And I'm only on chapter 6 of this humongous biography. So this one is a long-term project. And then one other book that I will be working on this weekend is an ebook, and that's Cold Fish Soup by Adam Farrar, I think is his last name. I'll put a picture up here. And this is a buddy read with Sean from Sean Breeze Books, and it's an essay collection about a place in England called Withersea. And Adam is from Withersea, which is a coastal community, I think on the east coast of Great Britain, if I remember correctly. I have a hard time with British geography for some reason. I remember where Cornwall is, but other than that, I get lost pretty easily. But it's an excellent essay collection, and we're reading one essay a week in that. So I will read my essay in that collection probably tomorrow, but I'll talk more about that one then. So that's what I'm reading for the weekend. Let's see how far I can get. Good morning. It's Sunday, and I have finished a book. I finished Dawn by Octavia E. Butler yesterday afternoon, actually. This is book 1 in her Lilith's Brood trilogy. So I have embarked on a project to read all of Octavia Butler's books in order. So I've finished the Pattern Master series, and now I'm on to the second group of books that she produced, and that's this Lilith's Brood series. I had read this book before a long time ago as an ebook, so it was nice to read it in the physical copy, and also it had been long enough ago that I pretty much did not remember most of this book. This is science fiction, and as with all Octavia Butler books, I find that her themes and ideas that she's exploring in her books are the strongest part of the experience for me. The plot is good, and the character work is probably the least impactful of all of those elements in the story. But the ideas that she's exploring in these science fictional stories is really, they're so good. It's really before her time. This book was published in like the 80s, 1980. Oh, can I see that? 1987 was when this book originally was published. And it's really exploring those Cold War fears that Americans had of nuclear annihilation between the US and the USSR. And so in this story, the Earth has been destroyed not the Earth. The Earth is fine. Human civilization and human beings have been destroyed because of some kind of major conflict. You're left to assume that it was nuclear. And our main character, Lilith, has been taken by an alien species and held for some purpose. She's unaware of what. And you find out with her sort of what's happened, because as at the beginning of the book, she's waking up and she has no idea where she is, what's happened, how long she's been asleep or anything. And you find out with her what's happened. The book explores aspects of human nature. Can humans work cooperatively? Are we doomed to sort of always be in violent conflict? It explores sexual and gender roles in community. Are we always doomed to see women as, like not leadership material? And particularly as Lilith is a Black woman, are we doomed to see race as well? Can humans ever get beyond those sort of prejudices that feel inherent? Are they inherent or are they learned behaviors? And this book struggles with all of those things, as well as what to do when you're put in a completely alien environment, confronted with beings that are completely alien to you. How do you react? How do you move forward? Can you adapt? All those sorts of things. So like the themes are really strong. There are scenes of violence in here. So, sexual violence and physical violence. So just be aware of that before you go in. And there's a lot to chew on with this. So I did enjoy my reread of Dawn, and I will be continuing on at some point with the second book in the series and my project to read all of Octavia Butler's work at some point in time. So that's what I finished yesterday. I also made some progress in Ben Franklin, the biography that I'm reading of him. And I did read a chapter or an essay in Coldfish Soup last night as well. And really enjoying that essay collection, which I would say if you enjoy David Sedaris's work, it reminds me of that in a way. It's got that kind of humor and self-deprecating attitude towards the author has that self-deprecating attitude towards himself, but it also is a little bit gentler than a David Sedaris book as well. And there's lots of interesting things in there about what it's like to live in a rural coastal community in Great Britain that is sort of not, it's not a tourist destination. It's not a really high visibility kind of place. So I find that quite interesting. And the author's interactions with his family and his friends and things like that, he's got a really excellent authorial voice. So I'm enjoying that very much. So that's my update for today. Hopefully I have a couple of social engagements during the day today, but I do plan to have some time to get some reading done as well. Monday morning. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. And I have made good progress in reading Benjamin Franklin, An American Life by Walter Isaacson. This is the biography of Ben Franklin that I'm buddy reading with Doris, and we made it to the halfway point of this biography. So it is about 500 pages long for the text, and we made it to about page 250 yesterday. So this is very interesting. Walter Isaacson is such a good biographer. He really brings the individual that he's talking about to life, and he writes his the format of his writing is such that each chapter is broken up into sort of smaller sections, and so it makes it easy to like, well, I'll just read this section, well, I'll just read this section, well, I'll just read this section, and you get through it pretty quickly considering it's a big nonfiction. I will say Benjamin Franklin is quite surprising to me because I didn't know a lot of specific details about him. Of course, in the other presidential biographies I've read in the past, he is mentioned and brought up, and sort of see him through the eyes of those other founding fathers of the United States. But Benjamin Franklin is a little bit more of a problematic person than you might imagine from, say, your learning of history in school or something like that. Because those types of history classes tend to focus, you're not going in depth into Benjamin Franklin, so it focuses on the good aspects of him. He was a citizen scientist. He was very much proponent of democracy. He, was very much a supporter of free speech and those sorts of things. But in his personal life, he could be very cold to his family members, his wife and his children. He put himself first most of the time, which is not unusual for men of the time period. But he spent years away from his wife, traveling overseas to England, and didn't seem to find that problematic in any way. He even missed his daughter's wedding. So yeah, those types of things, it makes it difficult to continue to keep him on a pedestal when you realize he was a flawed person, which is why I like reading these types of biographies, because you always do realize like people are just people and everybody has good and bad parts to them, and Benjamin Franklin the same. And the other thing to note is that I don't think that history dwells on, or at least the history that you learn in school does not really get into very much, is the fact that he was not from the beginning like a proponent of independence for the colonies in America. Like, he was very much a royalist. He was very supportive of the monarchy. He did not think that the colonies would do better on their own. And it wasn't until he was later on in his life, into his 60s, that he finally realized, like, no, in fact, Great Britain is not going to give us the ability to make our own decisions and to like sort of control the destiny of where these independent states are going. And so we do need to fight for our own rights. But even up until this point, we're halfway through the book, and he is in his 60s. Like, he still has not gotten to the point where he thinks there ought to be a rebellion and a revolution. So yeah, he was not one of the, like, he was not a Paul Revere or any of those type of people that were like advocating for a violent split from Great Britain. So yeah, very interesting to get this sort of background and to broaden my understanding of this historic figure in our culture. And I think that that's why reading biographies like this is so important. So I don't know how much more I will get rid of this today. I do have today off. It's a holiday for me. And I have some, house chores and things like that I want to get done today. But I will be doing some reading, but I have some other books that I need to work on as well. So we'll see. And I will come back. I'm going to continue this vlog through the rest of today and finish it up tonight. So I'll come back at some point and let you know how much I got done with my reading. it's Monday afternoon, and I have a dilemma. So I've read 2 more chapters in Necessary Trouble by Drew Gilpin Faust, which means that I've completed up to the next section I need to complete in order to check in with my buddy, Rachel, and really enjoyed the 2 chapters that I read about her time at Bryn Mawr and participating in the protests in the South, the March to Selma, and the March from Selma, and other civil rights era activities. So very good. But I finished that, so I'm done with that for today. I don't need to read any more of that today. And I have also read several more chapters in this romance novel, Remember Me by Mary Balogh. I'm about halfway through this one as well, so I am also caught up in my buddy read for this one. So the thing of it is the UPS driver showed up, even though it's a holiday and there is no U.S. mail today. The UPS driver showed up and he delivered The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is a fantasy novel. It's the book 1 in the Hierarchy fantasy series. I have been wanting to get this book and to start this series for at least since July. I had this book in my hands when Doris and I were book shopping together, and I did not pick it up because I was trying to be good and not buy too many books. And then I regretted my life choices because Doris bought it and she read it and she said it was awesome. And then I had FOMO. And so I have finally purchased it with my birthday gift money. Look at that spine. So cool. And so now it's here, and I could continue on with reading Ben Franklin, or some other nonfiction books that I'm working on, but I think I'm going to start this. Oops. Hello, friends. It is Tuesday morning, October 14th, and I am going to close out the vlog here. I am sad, I guess, to admit that I did not start The Will of the Many. I was good. I stuck to my plan, my already, conceived of reading plan, and did not start a huge fantasy novel in the middle of it to totally derail myself, because I have a busy week ahead of me, and I knew I would not be able to complete the things that I wanted to complete if I started that book. So what I did start was this book, Women in Victorian Society by Louise Booth, and this is a new book that I just received a few days ago. And I am buddy reading this with Britta Butler, and this we're reading for Victober. It's Victorian nonfiction, so it's all about women in the Victorian era. It is about 275 pages of text, nonfiction, and it goes through various different aspects of what it was like to be a woman in Victorian society. So I love to read Victorian literature, and I've read a lot of stuff in that area. But I don't know that I've ever read anything that's specifically about, nonfiction about society at that time. So I'm interested to learn more about how women lived their lives at that time period. I did start this and I read the first 45 pages, and you can see that I'm already tabbing quite a bit of stuff. Particularly of interest to me in this is information about Queen Victoria, who I don't know very much about at all. So there's quite a bit about her in this. And then the first couple of sections that I read have been about women's property rights and lack thereof at the time period, their ability to hold and retain wealth, which was very limited. And then I'm starting to read about if women had any access to the vote at all, which again, no, for the most part, but there were various small instances where women were able to work the system in their favor and have their voices be heard, but it was few and far between. And what was kind of frustrating to read about in this first part is that Queen Victoria, who was ruler of England for so long, did not support women's right to vote. And in fact, felt that women's place was in the home, being wife and mother, and that was the highest calling that women could you know, sort of aspire to. And here she was, you know, queen of the realm, which is very frustrating. So yeah, it's super interesting so far. It is quite academic. So, you know, this is not narrative nonfiction. This is an academic text. So it's really heavy on the facts and the analysis. But I am, you know, very much interested in the information that is being discussed. So that is what I ended up picking up, and not the big fantasy novel. But I feel like this weekend was very successful in terms of my reading. I was able to keep up with everything that I had on the go, and to, you know, keep the pace up so that I'm keeping up with my buddy readers, and also complete something. So that's good in terms of where I'm at with my reading. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I'll talk to you later.